to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
Okay, welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast, episode number 58. Really entrenched ourselves in Caldera, dug in deep. We talked about a honeymoon period last week. That certainly has ended, and the divorce papers are now floating through my mind. But before we dive into how we're feeling, how it's been, and what's been happening, I will do what all the listeners know what I'm going to do, and that is turn to the valiant co-host, the 10-inch-cowboy, who's been having a little bit of a rough going here in the Warzone. But that said, I still got to ask him, how was your week this week on Caldera in Warzone The Pacific?
Wow. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, a lot of energy this week, a little bit more than last week. I noticed when you started the episode last week, you're a little low energy, so good to see that you're back. It sounds like, unfortunately, though, that's fueled by apparently this divorce you want to have from the game, which is interesting. I didn't see you setting up this episode like that. But yeah, some highs and some lows this last week. You know, we've been getting some victories and having some good times, but then there's sessions where I'm just getting so frustrated, and, you know, it's just classic shitty Warzone frustration. I mean, and I don't even know why that is. I don't know if I'm like getting into harder lobbies, or I don't know what's going on, but I'm getting fried, getting frustrated. You and I just played before the recording of this podcast, and that was the most frustrated I've been in a really long time.
Yeah.
It was almost like controller throwing, kicking the television, like just so upset, you know, saying I'm never playing again, shit like that. So that was my week. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. How was your week?
Well, I gotta say, like, we've been in many a times been stomped in this game. I mean, this is the Warzone Amateur Hour after all, but today, the level of anger I could feel through the microphone was maybe unlike any other, and you almost did something which, to your credit, you did not, thank God, because I would have been very hurt and upset, as you almost rage quit mid-game, literally off the rip. Like, within a minute of the game starting, almost quit because you were killed so quickly, but you did not. We ended up getting, I think, a kill or two. Still got our asses kicked, but I mean, salvaged some dignity there, so.
Yeah, I think what happened was, I don't know if I've ever rage quit before, but this was definitely as close as it gets for me. I was like almost going to just pull the plug out of the wall. I was dropping into Caldera, and I heard somebody behind me, and then as soon as they shot, I cut my parachute. I was like, all right, I'm getting away from this fuck. So I started like zigging and zagging, and I'm pretty good at maneuvering about, but this guy it wasn't that he was hitting me in the sky all that much. He was just following me. He was just sticking to me. Like, he made the decision, I'm going to drop on this guy. And it was just so frustrating. I land on the ground, and I run inside to grab a gun. And as I grab the gun, he's shooting me, and like as it's like doing the load thing, you know how it like does, like you equip a weapon,
yeah,
and it's sometimes
it's like the initial cocking it.
Yeah, and he's just got his pistol, and he's just blah 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 blah, and I'm down and dead, and I'm so frustrated in that. I get to the gulag, and we spawn, and I kind of like am moving slowly, and all of a sudden he just throws like a rogue stun. Like, you know, he just happens to choose correctly in which direction he throws the stun. I get completely stunned to the ground. And then when I'm like not, you know, total fuzzy and can see, he's executing me. And it was just like, it was the worst way to start a game. It was so frustrating. So frustrating. I'm still frustrated about it.
I mean, I gotta say, it's been rough going. And last week we talked about it. I think we explicitly dove into like, wow, it seems like things are more bodier, so to speak. You know, it's less sweaty. What happened to all these Verdant sweats? And we theorized a few things, and I'm not sure what the result is, but clearly, yes, as I touched on in the opener, the honeymoon period is over. The sweats are back in town. They've fucking adjusted. They know what they're doing a lot more than I do. And as a result, my enjoyment of the game is plummeting. You at least have the Bren unlocked. So like when you get your loadout, you at least kind of get that reinvigoration. Whereas now I feel zero joy when I get a loadout now. Like, I only get joy when I find a cool fucking ground loot weapon or I pick up like a Bren off someone else during a second loadout or something.
You said that you were in love with that STG though last week. What happened to that love affair?
I don't know if I was in love. I guess it was an infatuation, but quickly has kind of fallen out of love if I was. And I don't think they nerfed it or what was going on, but maybe I fucked with my build. Not into the STG, although I picked up, it was like a purple AS44, I think it is. And I know specifically we've had amateurs reaching out this week recommending it. So I might be pivoting over to that. It kind of seems like it's like an M3 type of gun, quick fire rate, low recoil, maybe a little less damage, but hey, I will trade that any day.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do because, you know, it seems like they've taken the holidays off. They haven't nerfed or buffed anything. Nothing's changed, right, over the last few weeks. You know,
Yeah.
I think the Bren is probably obviously going to get a little bit of a nerf just because it's the obvious overall number one weapon right now. It's a really good weapon. Has super low recoil. I bet they nerf that. They add a little recoil to it. And then I'm sure they're going to buff a couple other things. It's almost time to start eyeing like what's next. What is going to be the new, you know, meta? Is it the STG? Is it the AS44 that there's one that starts with an NZ something? You know, I feel like it's going to be one of those. Probably good to get those kind of like up and ready and kind of ready to go because I think one of those is going to be next. But yeah, if it's not the STG, you know, I haven't really used that AS44. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so. But that
I haven't used
kind
it.
of, go ahead.
No, I just haven't used it very much. I've got it grounded on it a couple times, but I haven't found a custom one of those on a dead body or anything.
Well, your comment, this discussion has prompted two thoughts that I've wanted to dive into. One is I'm feeling the same, like in this weird kind of state of paralysis limbo where I know another round of weapons tuning, like it's coming. It's got to be certain. As you've said, they've been off on the holidays, which is prompting some other topics we're going to dive into shortly. Issues with the game that have gone unaddressed for well too long. But it's weird because I don't want to commit to a gun, and like the leveling up now is so painfully slow. And I know when we originally learned that there was 10 attachments, one of the topics we had as well, is that going to mean leveling these guns up is exponentially longer, or are they going to speed that up? And it seems like it's not a one-to-one, like, oh, one level on the Black Ops gun takes as long as it does on the Vanguard. It seems like the Vanguard does kind of go level to level a little faster, but not that much faster. I've been playing with the fucking STG since the beginning, and I still am not even maxed it out. Like, what? Who is this game fucking for right now?
Yeah, that's rough. You know, one thing, it seems like it's slower on the Battle Pass too, right?
Yes.
Like very slow on the Battle Pass. I've been putting in some hours, some days on Caldera, and I unlocked the Bren, but I'm nowhere near like maxing the Battle Pass. I feel like in seasons past, the amount of gameplay I've put into this, it should be rewarded by this point with that finishing the Battle Pass, but I think I'm like level 60 or something. I'm not that far.
Yeah, it seemed like before, like the passive leveling, so to speak, or using the gun. If you use the gun regularly, like after a day or two, or, you know, maybe a week of playing with it, you had it damn near max level, or at least to where like you had 90% of the attachments you wanted. And I like that, where you kind of had to wait to get like the real good suppressor you were waiting for. It was like that little cherry you were chasing. But now there's just so much going on that kind of upsetting and demoralizing, because like I want to dive into this AS44, but it's like at level 7 now. I have no blueprints, and it's like, do I really want to use that as my loadout gun and just get shit on just to fucking buff this gun up, or do I want to go hop into Plunder and spend like literally just hours of my time just leveling a gun? Like, to me, that's not what we're all about here, baby. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, wait a second though. What Battle Pass level are you on?
I still don't Battle Pass. I'm not sure. I think around the 40s. And in terms of like my player level, I still haven't unlocked the Bren. I'm not even at 53, I think is where that comes in.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, is that once you hit the 53, you unlock the Bren, but you've probably used the Bren enough to have it leveled up pretty high. because there's a lot of ground loot options, and I know people drop them for you. So once you get that, maybe you grind it out to get to the unlock of the Bren, and you may be singing a different tune by next week.
And at which point on Thursday they drop the weapons tuning update in which the Bren becomes dog shit. And
yeah, I guess that's true. Well, you got a few days to kill there.
A few weeks, maybe months. But that said, the other thing to touch on, which you're trying to recall these guns, is like the naming convention in Vanguard I hate it. Like Black Ops and Modern Warfare were cool. Like the guns kind of had some names. Some of them were weird, like numbers, like the AS Val or whatever, or the MP40. But now,
MP40 is Vanguard, but yeah.
Or sorry, the MP5, MP7. But now, yeah, everything with Vanguard is like 2 numerals or 2 letters and then numbers. And it's a lot of them start with fucking M or N, and it's like I can't even keep track. Like I'm just really overwhelmed here, man. The Tron man is getting real overwhelmed here.
Is that like a thing that they did in the World War II era? Is that what they named their weapons?
I assume so. Like again, we're no weapons experts. I think I've fired like 1 gun in my life. We was like out in the field shooting at a TV or something. So I'm no gun guy, and I'm sure, authenticity wise, they got it right and they studied it. And yeah, it's true to fucking World War II. And if the people that know those guns are going to be familiar with all these, but us fucking amateurs out here that are trying to like figure out what gun I like and communicating amongst each other, they ain't doing us any favors. Like Cooper Carbine, easy, fucking rolls off the tongue. Bren, fine. Bar, kind of generic, but okay. But then it's like, yeah, NZ41, AS44, fucking who knows what else they got in here that I'm still forgetting.
Yeah, I like the 1-syllable names like Bren, Bar, Farah. That's all good stuff.
I agree. So, few bones.
You got this week. Is everything okay? Did you eat your lunch? Have you had your coffee this morning? You're in a very negative
demoralized. Mood. Although we did hop back with our old Rebirth crew this week. We got back into Rebirth. I was able to get back on my C58 OTS 9 loadout. We had a blast. Got a win right off the rip. Had 2 or 3 during the session. I'm dropping 6, 7, 8, 9 kills. Refining the joy. I might be having to pivot back to like where we're just rebirthing it up, but I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like, this might be a greater discussion, but it seems like because it takes so long to level up the weapons and for you to be viable with like certain things, it's like you're getting kind of like edged out of like prime time playing because of like they make it so hard to get everything, unless you're putting in a lot of time. It takes a long time to get in a position to, set yourself up for victory, basically.
Absolutely. And so I got to ask, you're saying I'm kind of got the bone to pick, but where are you? I hear you sounding so optimistic here on the mic during the podcast recording, but when I'm in the war zone with you, like it's pure anguish, despair, frustration, and loathing.
Yeah, I'm still, it's a love-hate thing, as it always has been. When it's so session dependent. Sometimes I'm having a blast and I look forward to it, and then other times it's just so frustrating. Like, this is a great example. We were playing, and I don't understand how the fuck this happens, because everyone always says when you're playing with people, it's like, oh, let's join that party because they're got a lower level, so you're going to get easier, better lobbies. Well, let me throw this at you. We ended up playing with old friend of the pod, Shitty Nick, this last week. He hasn't played in a long time, and probably because he's so shitty, but he ended up hopping on, downloading the new map, the new Warzone Vanguard, and we ended up dropping in, and we all joined him. He's level 1, right? Like, hadn't played a single game at all in Caldera Vanguard at all. We drop in with him. Guess who was in our fucking lobby that we all got slaughtered by?
Well, I know the answers. Do you want me to spoil it, or do you want to?
No, I'll answer my own question. Okay. It was superstar streamer Huskers, who I would imagine has played a few more hours on Caldera than Shitty Nick, and we're somehow getting into lobbies with Huskers. And I don't know if that is like because maybe he's like using different well, I don't even know how the fuck that happens, but how the fuck does that happen? And it's that shit where it's like we are getting slaughtered by a professional gamer on this map, like and we're playing with someone that literally hasn't played before. You couldn't ask for a more dramatic pairing. I don't get it.
I mean, you talk about honeymoon over. It's like we were on the honeymoon, in the Bahamas, and we were the only guy with like a half a six-pack on the beach. It was a bunch of slobs. It was great. We're loving it. Then we come home, we take our lady out, and there's like these 10 out of 10 chiseled chin, jacked out guys all around just making us look bad type of thing. Am I right?
I see your point. Interesting way of getting there and making the point, but I hear what you're saying. It's just crazy to me. Like maybe I don't know. I don't know how you explain that one. I don't think that everyone always points to, oh, well, let's change hosts so we'll get better lobbies. I don't know if that makes a difference, to be honest. I just don't.
Well, speaking of Shitty Nick, he was our very first ever patron supporter. So we got to make a call out. If you haven't already, check out the Patron. We have a $5 tier if you want to help us out. Keep the lights on. Keep the Warzone Amateur Hour running. Check it out. Also, again, as always, subscribe, like, follow, leave us comments. On Spotify, we've been getting some fantastic reviews, so keep those coming. Keep spreading the word. We normally say at the end of the show, but we're trying to front load it a little bit now, right, Cowboy?
Yeah, yes. Shameless self-promotion. We're doing it, baby. We're doing it.
Well, let's move on then to kind of an update on a topic you brought up last week that I didn't have much to share about, and that was you were talking about this kind of inconsistency, errors, and problems with hit markers when it came to sniping. And this week, because early on in the week, the Vanguard Royale playlist was only quads, and so I was kind of doing the regular Battle Royale where all guns were on the table, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to get back on this Car 98 train because everyone seems like they're sniping in those modes. And I was experiencing it. I was hitting what seemed like neck at the least, but headshots for sure, only getting cracks. I think at 1.2 I got a crack shot and then another body shot, and the guy didn't fucking go down. So I can attest to what you're talking about. Did you have any more experience with that or insights about what's going on with these hit markers?
What weapon were you using? Were you using a Vanguard sniper?
No, it was the Modern Warfare Car 98.
Oh, you were having it with the car. I've noticed it with the car a bit. I think it's been worse with the Vanguard weapons. I think I played a bunch of Rebirth this last week, and I think I was rocking the Bren, to be honest. The Bren is a shred fest, so I'm not even rolling with the car anymore when I play Rebirth. I just go Bren. I'm trying to, I kind of actually, until there's a fix, I kind of stepped away from the snipers, especially the Vanguard snipers, because they're just not viable. Like unless you have to rely on them because you're ground looting and that's all there is, like for a long range weapon. I mean, I don't think I've actually had any experience with it because I haven't been using it, but it's bad. Like you can't, I have like vivid memories of somebody being crouched. Like when someone's crouched down, obviously like they're the shootable surface area of their body, right? If you're thinking about it two-dimensionally, when the bullet's traveling when they're crouched, the head makes up a massive part of that upper body when they're crouched. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, you see what I'm saying? So when I shoot them in the head when they're crouched down, it's like a no-brainer that it's a headshot, right? Because it's just a no-brainer. I don't understand how you can crack somebody in that position. And that's what's been happening is when they're crouched and I headshot them, all it is a crack. I blue shield them. And it's like, how the fuck does that happen? That's a headshot. You know what I mean?
Something's going on, and I'm going to look closely. I mean, again, hoping this week we do. I mean, they always kind of issue a patch on Thursday, so I'm really going to take a close look. Hopefully there's an adjustment so then we can at least know we're not going crazy over here. But certainly some inconsistency. Certainly something has changed in terms of Warzone the Pacific than it was when it came to sniping. Because I know I've lost my mojo, I think, to some degree, but I know you never really took much of a break from sniping, so you're more familiar. And we've heard that echoed from many of our friends who also snipe that, like, something is not right with what's going on there.
Yeah, and we touched on it. I don't understand why they're... For one, I mean, something changed, obviously, right? And if that's like a conscious decision to nerf sniping in general, I didn't think it was that out of hand. Did you? I didn't think sniping was like becoming an issue.
Well, if anything, I think Caldera kind of, leveled the playing field a bit with the line of sights impeded, and there's so much brush, and there's elevation changes to where it's not like, oh, rooftop to rooftop. This guy's on a roof, he can fucking see 360 degrees around. He's got like 100-meter radius covered, and he'll just snipe the shit out of you if you get close. I don't think the game would, like, if anything, lend itself to sniping getting out of hand. So
I don't know. It's weird. I'm not sure what the deal is, because there was a change made.
Yeah.
Why? They've like made it harder to hit headshots and I don't understand what the point is. I just don't get it. And it had to be intentional.
The weird thing is, when I do play the regular battle royales, I'm getting fucking destroyed by snipers. And like, oddly enough, there was a guy playing with like an HDR or an AX50, the old Modern Warfare sniper, and he was like blowing us out of the water. He marked our whole team from like 200 meters away. So I don't know if there's like a new memo we didn't get.
They buffed. I mean, did they buff those other snipers and we're just stuck on these old ones that were great? And did we just miss this boat somehow?
I don't know, but I'm certainly, paddling to keep my head above water here. I need a lifeline, so we'll see what happens there. But in terms of changes, the opposite, not making changes, that's really been the story of Warzone, as some would consider game-breaking kind of glitches have just been existing. Like, there's that new Battle Pass skin unlocked at level 100 on the Battle Pass, and apparently it glitches out in many instances where the player is invisible beyond 100 meters with this skin, and it's been that way, I think, since Christmas. I know the biggest streamers on Warzone, Tim the Tatman specifically, calling it out, drawing attention to it, but thus far, as to my knowledge, has not been addressed.
Oh, yeah. No. I've seen that a lot of times. That's a very consistent glitch that's happening, and I actually think, pointed out by friend of the pod Scared of Clowns, that that was started happening, I think, December like 10th or something. It was like a while ago this started happening. It's just more people have gotten the Battle Pass fully up to 100 now, and you're seeing it more often. And it's also, what am I trying to say here? Your teammates are invisible to you as well. So it's not just like enemies are invisible. Like, you can't even see your teammates. Like, friend of the pod Pole, who's at a level 100. Like, whenever I play with him, I can't see him unless for his name tag. And I think you can also see like the weird mask that the skin has on it as well. It's like all you see is a name tag and a mask. And then, of course, if you're playing against somebody, all you see is the mask and maybe a weapon, but they're pretty invisible. It's not a good thing. It's a total glitch. It's terrible.
And the list doesn't stop there. We've also talked about that the Bren is essentially like broken. I guess you could argue that it's got zero recoil. It downs you in like 4 or 5 shots. That sucks, but I guess not breaking. But then also was revealed a new, Einhorn shotgun. When you build it out a certain way, you can have a single shot down, and it's from like 10 plus meters. Check it out. There's videos out there of these guys. I'm not sure how it's built. Again, I'm not anywhere fucking gonna have the time to level it to where it needs to be, but it's unfortunate because the team was so responsive and really on top of things, and the holiday hit, and now they're just sucking down eggnog, off the scenes.
Yeah, the Einhorn shotgun situation, it's actually 2 double barrel shotguns. So each one of your hands has a double barrel shotgun. Apparently you burn through ammo like crazy. You need ammo, but yeah, that's kind of broken as well, it seems. I just don't understand how somebody can reload 2 weapons that are in 2 of your hands. Like, are you using your mouth to put the cartridges or the shells inside the guns? I don't get it. I don't know how that works.
I don't either, and there should be some serious drawbacks there. Like, that should be the big penalty for that gun is, oh yeah, it's great, but your reload time is going to be, like LMG quality. But again, not the case. Unfortunate. Counting down till the next patch issues. But those are the main ones kind of going on. Just been completely ignored. Krampus, they got him in line once he was getting out of control. But when it comes to this other stuff, we're just gonna have to live with it till they get back and on the clock there at Raven.
Yeah, they did that, huh? They nerfed Krampus, but they didn't address any of this other stuff. Maybe it's an easier lift. Maybe there's like one guy in office and he's like, oh yeah, I could fix Krampus, but I can't fix the invisibility glitch. I don't know.
That, or it goes back to, the old tinfoil theories about it's just going to push people to level up the battle pass or purchase the unlocks for the tiers or buy the blueprints for the Einhorn.
Einhorn, yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, this brings us to our next topic, which is kind of a question I dialed up for you, Cowboy, and for our listeners at large, we want to hear from you. As it stands now, there's two specific Battle Royale modes. We got Vanguard Royale, which is only Vanguard guns, plus, the dogfighting airplanes. And then we got Battle Royale, which is all the guns and equipment, no planes, but helicopters. So which do you prefer?
I prefer the mode that's just Vanguard weapons at this point, because my go-to loadout hasn't changed. I believe from last week, I still had it's the Bren, and the MP40 is still my go-to loadout. So that's obviously a Vanguard situation. You know what? I like flying the airplanes. It's if you can get one, it's kind of fun to fly around. So I'm all about the Vanguard. I don't need to rely on my old weapons. Now that I've got the Bren unlocked, it's like I live and die by the Bren, to be honest. So no, I'm all Vanguard. What about you?
I think I'm the same right now. On one hand, I do love, I love the C58. I love the OTS-9. But in terms of the sweatiness of the lobbies, I do feel like the regular Battle Royale lobbies are just significantly sweatier. And the playing field, like the diversity from top tier kicking my ass to, bot is much broader. Whereas Vanguard Royale things are kind of combine it more. I can find those Brens or pick up my buddies and kind of, level it off a little bit. I do like that there's no heartbeat sensors and some of these other things aren't in the game, although the airplanes have been pissing me off lately.
Oh, were you not a fan of the airplanes?
Well, I flew like once or twice. I think I crashed, and I just don't really know what's going on, like why they're in the game. But other than it's just kind of like a cool little thing for people to enjoy that get them, it seems like there's not much of a drawback. Like there's the explosive, as you talked about, the launchers and such are very lacking. So it's like if you're dominating in the air with these planes and you know what you're doing, you're kind of just unbothered flying around the air.
Do you think that was... that's really interesting. I haven't made this connection yet, but obviously the Pilas and the Strela... Well, no, not Strelas, but certain rocket launchers in the Modern Warfare and Black Ops Cold War varietals had the mechanism where it would lock on a moving vehicle. I wonder if they intentionally took those out of this new Vanguard game mode so you couldn't take down the airplanes. But I would argue it would be even cooler if you could. How fun would that be as if you were shooting like trackable rockets at those airplanes? That would be so much fun, and it would add some risk because honestly, when you get into those airplanes now, yeah, they're a little difficult to fly, but you're dominating in those things.
Exactly.
It's
like you got the skies to yourself. You're free as a bird.
You can travel the map incredibly easy. You can spot people on the ground for your team insanely easy. I think they should have rocket launchers that take those bad boys down.
I agree. I think it's a huge missed opportunity. Like, think of the doors that could open. Now, on one hand, I got to say, I don't know for sure if there even is. There might be a rocket that locks on in Vanguard, but to my knowledge, I know the bazooka certainly doesn't, but I think there's another launcher. Not sure if it has that capability.
I don't think it does. I would have seen it by now. I don't think there is.
Yeah, huge missed opportunity because, like you said, it opens up a thing like, okay, you can take to the skies, and, I don't think they should give the planes flares, because I do think that was kind of a cool balance thing for the helicopters in, Verdansk. But I do think instead, like, maybe you would have to be, like, super elusive as a pilot to,
evasive.
Draw
you should be able to,
the rocket into, like, the trees or fly through the trees or do some cool evasive maneuvering. or you have to hop out and then you're vulnerable parachuting back in. So I agree, kind of a missed opportunity there, kind of a weird imbalance that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, they probably were on the tip that, you know, you can't. Back then in World War II, they didn't have rockets that would lock onto things. That technology probably wasn't invented. That's probably why they didn't do it.
Yeah, I have a lot of problem with that. Like this whole using, that's the authenticity. To me, like that's a selective excuse because there's so many things we can point out in the game that aren't real to military sims or realism. But they're allowing that, and then on the other hand, it's like, we can't have this because that's not true to the era. Like, give me a fucking break, you know? They showed, like, that one, it's a tweet that's gone viral now of the new, like, dragon gun blueprint for Vanguard, and somebody tweeted, like, a World War II photo with that photoshopped in. Like, come on here, we're not really dedicated to keeping this all Vanguard World War II realistic, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, they had a zombie mode. Like, zombies, like, what are we talking about here?
There's fucking Krampus.
Yeah, if you want to talk about like legitimacy, like we had a ghost ship that traveled from like what are we talking about? It's so stupid. It's so dumb.
So that said, you know, kind of shaky stuff going on, but I heard you say the word tip, and that's kind of next up on our agenda. So we got a little bit of a tip, which goes back to what we talked about last week. We were saying, hey, what are you running as perk slot 3? And one of the most common answers dating back to the old way Warzone was amped. That was kind of the default. Now, as we've said, we kind of recommend Combat Scout. Well, I gotta say we should double down now on recommending Combat Scout because we've had some listeners and players in the community point out, I know True Game Data really, or it was JGod really like did a side-by-side, is you can now get away with not having amped as your third perk slot, but you can still have very, very fast weapon swapping, and that is on the Vanguard guns by using the taped rear grip, which that gives you a fast weapon slot or weapon swapping. So it's kind of like allows you to free up that perk slot 3, but still get the amped benefits out there.
Okay, good to know. So we're just doubling down.
Doubling down, baby. Again, you know, Vanguard 10 attachment slots, fuck trading off and having to balance and make sacrifices. You could just have it all now.
I love it. I love it.
I hate it.
Do you hate it?
Yeah. And then earlier this week, actually, later on here in the agenda, I guess, should have brought it a little bit up, is I think it's since been patched or it was an issue with the playlist, but people had discovered during the week prior to this playlist refresh as they had a Rebirth Resurgence Duos. And people discovered that the double XP tokens were able to be stacked. Now, I don't know if you could stack like 3 or 4, but if you popped 2 of them, you were getting like 4x weapon XP. And so people were doing the strategy we've covered before on the podcast, which is you go into Rebirth, you find a gun, whether it's on the ground or loadout, and then you just do the supply runs contracts, and people were able to fully level Vanguard guns from 1 to level 70 in a matter of 30 minutes.
Yeah, we had a friend that did this, but the thing is that I have the Bren fully loaded and I have the MP40 fully loaded. I guess you could do it. You could drop in and hit the shotguns hard to get that Einhorn fully loaded. But I don't know what else. If I was going to dedicate that time, what do I want to max out? You know, like what would you do?
I probably now would have done this AS44, but again, typical Tron timing, the day I'm like going to log on and do it, they say, no, Rebirth Duos is out, Rebirth Quads is back in, and it seems from what I've heard that glitch is not applying to that playlist. So, and I imagine by the time Duos rolls back around, they'll have patched it.
Interesting. I wonder, they must have fixed it then when they did the update.
No, well, they just changed. I think it was just like had been left as a relic with the Duos Rebirth playlist, but now that playlist is no longer active, so you can't take advantage of it.
Gotcha.
Because I guess originally it was available in Plunder, and people were going nuts, so they patched that quick. But this wasn't even patched again. It was just rotated the playlist out, so it's no longer can be exploited, as far as I know. But that kind of brings us here to our final topic, which is, you know, controversial, deep philosophical, existential talk here, which is, as we've talked about, the game has become so much more about grinding, so much more about leveling dedicating time just to get to a place where you can kind of have a competitive edge, or not even a competitive edge, kind of be on a competitive level with the more advanced players. I would say that's where Warzone is at. It's never really been that way to this extent before. So it begs the question that I posed to you, the 10-Inch Cowboy, which is like, who is Warzone currently designed for?
It's a good question. I don't think, I'll say who it's not designed for. It's currently not designed for the casual player. That's for sure. The guy that'll turn on a video game on a Sunday afternoon for an hour or two, and that's his gaming for the week. This game is for people that now have time to play every day, or it's like their go-to hobby is playing this game. You know what I mean? It doesn't leave a lot of time to play anything else because you have to keep your skill up. You have to dedicate time to get the weapons at a correct level. It's crazy, you know? It's not designed for the casual player anymore. It's designed for like the sweats, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we started this from the beginning, the Warzone Amateur Hour. We're fighting for the Timmies, the 9-to-5ers that are going to hop on after their work or their spouses, the kids are in bed, and play a little bit, get some connection with their boys. But those types of players, which I'm certainly now, you know, I'm fucking getting into fatherhood here. Like, my time is going to be capping off. Like, the enjoyment level is just not what it was. And to me, like, it's shifted fundamentally. It's like, it used to be a first-person shooter, squad-based. The onus was on communication, reaction, you know, playing, positioning was so much a part of it. Now, it's like more akin to like an MMORPG, like fucking World of Warcraft, which is all about like grinding, putting in the time, fucking leveling, you know, going like on the South Park where they go through the forest and they kill the little fucking things for hundreds of hours at a time just to get to a point where they can play the game and enjoy it. Like, that's to me how it's starting to feel. And it's sad to me, fundamentally sad.
It's crazy. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It makes me wonder. I guess when you get people hooked and dedicated and it's all they play, even though it's probably obviously a smaller number of people than say like the casual player, that must be a business decision. They're doing this purposefully. And I don't know enough about it, but that definitely seems like what it's for. And, you know, it's getting harder and harder for like, and a lot of the people that listen to this podcast are in your demographic now, the father, you know, the man or woman that is, you know, a parent. You don't have an hour or two to play the game every day anymore, you know? And it's tricky.
And we've had listeners or people in the community that are like, well, just go hop in, buy Vanguard and hop into that, run 3 hours, and then you'll have the gun leveled up. And it's like, that's not why I'm playing this fucking game, is to jump through a bunch of hoops so that now I can get in and enjoy it until they decide to nerf the shit out of the gun that I just spent hours of my fucking life chasing, you know? I
agree. I totally agree.
So
I don't know what they do. I don't know what that means for us. I hope that we still stay relevant.
That's the other question, is like, think if you had joined, you know, you had decided to join the Warzone community now, do you think you would have had the wherewithal to stay active? Because when you first joined, you were rocking the PKM, but you could still have that Pila. You could still get a quad feed every now and again or help the team out. Like, that was, and you had fun as shit doing that. But now that aspect of the game is just, it's completely non-existent.
Yeah, it's tough. It's getting harder and harder for the amateurs out there, frankly.
It is, baby. We're a fucking dying breed, and we're fighting hard to breathe the air. So, like, again, we need a Lifeline, Activision, Raven. Like, whether it's now getting us a new set of playlists, which is one is ranked and one is, you know, more casual, or just letting off the fucking gas with the weapon shit, or giving us more blueprints. I don't know. I'm curious if the player base is dwindling. I know personally among our friends, we're seeing more people step away. Like, even though Caldera and all that's really amazing for refreshing the game, is they just feel intimidated.
Yeah. Yeah, we have friends that don't play anymore, that are over it, which sucks.
So Don't want to end on a negative note. I will say, if you haven't been following our YouTube, we've been posting a lot more video content out there. And specifically this week, we had quite an amateur moment where the 10-inch cowboy found himself in a hole. And I'm not talking figuratively. I'm talking literally. He fell into a hole on Caldera, got stuck. I tried to jimmy him out by deploying a deployable cover and ended up putting myself in the same fucking hole with them. So if you haven't already, check out our YouTube. We got that. We got many other clips. Some clips of us even doing well.
Yeah. To circle back to that clip of us getting stuck in the hole, I couldn't even kill myself, to get to the gulag to try to respawn because I didn't have any lethals on me. You did, and then you ended up coming back and breaking your legs right out of the gulag. So that was our match. Not the finest moment for the amateurs, but definitely, I was thinking about it as we've been negative. I did have a victory this week on the big map in a quad situation that was like an all-time adrenaline-filled, just like it was a high-octane situation, and we ended up pulling out the victory, and it was one of those where you're like, oh my God, that was a great game where, the team's communicating, it's all working. Yeah, we weren't against Huskers. It was it was a great game. So those moments are still there. They're still there. I don't want to be too negative. They're there.
No, I know. And the game, when it's fun, you've never had a better gaming experience, collaborating with your friends, working together. It's just, unfortunately, those seem to be fleeting. But yes, check out our YouTube. And also in terms of Patreon, we're going to start releasing kind of some exclusive video content, more longer form videos, particularly, games we're winning or personal records types of things. So if you're interested in that, we are trying to kind of throw some extra bones to the patrons out there.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to do win of the week, and we'll have a full gameplay of a win we get, the best win
Hopefully
of the week.
we can keep up with that and get a win.
We'll see. We will see, hopefully.
Well, that is going to do it for us this week on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. Keeping it real. We give it to you straight. The weeks we come down, we're always coming back, so don't worry. We'll be dropping in hard this week, whether it's on Rebirth or Caldera. Fantastic time for our community. Loving all the outreach, getting a lot of Twitter activity this week, so keep it up. We love to hear from you. That's all for me. Any final thoughts there, Cowboy?
No, nothing new. I think, we're going to it's going to be an interesting week once they nerf the Bren. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what's going to be next, but we'll have all that, I'm sure, next week for you.
We will have tons for you next week, and that's when we'll be talking to you. So until then,
good luck in the gulag.
That's actually an area I've been doing well, the gulag.